Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to another video. It's wonderful that you can be here today, wonderful that I can be here today, wonderful that we're sharing this time. We're going to have an exciting conversation. We're not hiking, but we're talking about hiking, so all is well with the world. Specifically, we're going to talk about my recent trip to the Tour Do Mont Blanc. So it's 105 miles around the Mont Blanc massif. You start in France, go through Italy and Switzerland. It's a pretty incredible trail, let's just put it like that. I did it in 7 days, so the average is sort of 10. But I just couldn't really stop walking. For anyone that followed my social media posts, basically I just got a bit addicted to putting one foot in front of the other. The mountains, the wildflowers, just everything around me inspired me so much I just had to keep going each day. So my whole itinerary got shunned and I did it in 7 days. So I did camp, but I also stayed in a refuge and a hotel along the way. So I got a good taster of kind of the things that the trail has to offer. So what I thought I'd do is I put together a top tips video because I know this is a very popular trail. In fact, it's actually one of the most popular hiking routes in the whole of Europe. So hopefully we'll just have a sort of discussion. I've actually got 13 tips, well 12 tips and the odd one, the bonus one. And we're going to sort of talk about all sorts of different things. So pre-trip, during trip and post. In fact, we haven't really got a post-trip, but we can add that in if we feel the need to. So it's basically what to sort of do and prepare for before the trip and after. But these are just top tips, so this isn't necessarily a planning thing or an itinerary. It's just some of the things I've come away with upon reflection and gone, yeah, some people might find it useful to have somebody talking about that. So you might want to come back to this video, make some notes. I'm going to just be basically throwing all sorts of stuff at you, hopefully have a nice montage of footage on top as well, get some of those mountains in there, some of the flowers, some hiking stuff. But anyway, let's get started. So you want to do the Tour Do Mont Blanc. Happy days. You don't know if you want to camp or you don't know if you want to stay in refuges, no worries. You just want to do the Tour Do Mont Blanc. That is a great place to start, let's just be real. That's what I thought of. It went in my book of things to do. I want to do the Tour Do Mont Blanc, and then this year I was like, oh flip, I booked flights. I'm actually doing the Tour Do Mont Blanc. There's so much information out there, it can feel very overwhelming. So this isn't even on my list of tips, but this is now a tip. Take the time to go through the information online. Do your research, okay? So this is without a guidebook. This is just using the internet as a source of information. So it can feel overwhelming. It can feel very daunting, but watch some videos. Obviously, I'm going to have my 3-minute preview video and my feature-length documentary. They'll be out very soon. So keep checking back, make sure you've subscribed, click the bell button next to subscription, and then you'll get a notification of when those videos are up. I upload a new video every Monday, but those are feature uploads, so they come up slightly differently. Anyway, this was not part of my plan. So just try not to get too overwhelmed by the information that you find online, because there is a lot, but do make notes, try to just dissect it, break it down, perhaps talk it through with people around you. I was discussing everything with people around me, people who don't even like hiking. I mean, I have a walk that I do every morning, and I was just talking to random strangers about this trip, trying to like unburden myself with the information that I was taking in. So that is now my first tip. Pre-walk, just, you know, set yourself a period of time each day or however often you feel like you can manage to go through some information online, read some different vlogs, watch some videos, and just immerse yourself in the information. And actually just sort of educating yourself can help you ask questions that you feel the need to ask, sort of the questions that are important, and hopefully obviously we'll be answering some of those through this video as well. So welcome to part of your research. Okay, so my official first tip is pre-trip, obviously, is training. So the Tour Do Mont Blanc is advertised as a strenuous trek. What does that mean? Don't really know. It's quite subjective, to be honest. I didn't find it too challenging, but then if you're on the Tour Do Mont Blanc Facebook group page, you'll see that a lot of people do find it challenging. A lot of people do find working in the heat through the mountains carrying weight is something that they're not used to doing. So this is something you're not used to doing. How can we challenge that? Get used to doing it. So before you even hop on a plane, you should hopefully have been used to walking up and down hills. You know, get these quad muscles working, get them built up, do some squats, do some lunges. Now, actually in October 2019, I am going to be hopefully releasing some sort of training videos to, I mean, I'm a trained personal trainer. I'm a qualified personal trainer and a fitness instructor. I work with clients throughout the year in my local area. So I'm actually hoping to put together some of my knowledge and my own personal training into some videos, some programs that you guys can sort of follow to help you get fitter physically and mentally for the trail. So working on both of those things. So mentally building that resilience by getting outside, moving your body, working your legs, carrying the weight, that you're perhaps going to be carrying, perhaps even carrying heavier. So just fill your backpack up with heavy stuff and go out for a hike. Just trying to walk as much as you can. The planet will be grateful because you won't be having so many CO2 emissions, because you probably won't be driving as much because you might be walking or cycling, but also your body will be grateful. So just building up those muscles, getting used to moving throughout the day. You know, some longer days on the trail, you might be walking for 10 hours if the weather comes in and things are a bit slow, or if you're walking in a group and someone's struggling, then that can slow things down. So just getting your body used to moving for a prolonged period of time can be really helpful. So walking as often as you can through the day. Physical movement, just think of physical activity. Try to do things that you enjoy. Perhaps that could even be doing a sport like tennis, badminton, netball, whatever it is. Just moving your body, getting that heart pumping is going to build up that strength. I'm going off on a bit of tangent here because I just love this subject, but just moving as much as you can, and that's going to help with that training. But we can talk more about training for the Tour Do Mont Blanc if you guys would like that, so let me know in the comments below, and I can definitely build on that conversation a little bit more if you'd like to. So the second tip before going to the Tour Do Mont Blanc, so we're still back home, we're still like, oh, I booked my flights, it's all happening, I'm doing a bit of walking and training. Now what? Pack in, that's what. So obviously what you take is going to vary depending on the type of trip that you're doing. So if you're walking with a group, so perhaps you've booked your group walk through a company, they might do luggage transfers. So what that means is basically it's sort of a Sherpa system, they call it in some places. So there's a van or whatever, mules, horses, that will take your pack from refuge to refuge, so you don't have to carry as much, you can just carry the bare essentials for the day, and we'll talk about essentials in a minute. But so that's sort of one way of doing things. So I did mention refuges. So if you're staying in refuges, you know, you're just going to need a sort of thin sleeping bag liner thing, because they've got blankets and thing in the refuges, but you're not going to be needing a tent. But if you're camping, of course, you're going to need a tent, sleeping bag, cooking system, all of this different stuff. So your pack is going to vary depending on the type of tour that you're doing. Depending on when you're watching this, I may or may not have released my packing videos. So again, I'm hoping to look at something or two different packing videos. So packing video for those who are camping, and a packing video for those who are just doing refuges, so hut to hut walks. And of course, if you're coming from far away, big international traveler, you're probably going to have some other stuff with you as well, and that's where having the Sherpa system can be really helpful. There were a lot of I stumbled upon a lot of sort of Asian groups that were there doing the walk together, and they had big suitcases. And talking to some of them, it's because, well, we're in the UK or Europe, sorry, for 3 months, so of course they've got a lot of stuff. So people will have different things depending on what type of tour that you're doing, basically, to summarize that big conversation. But packing is absolutely essential. So the key things with packing to take away, okay, regardless of what kind of tour you're doing, is to get that weight down as much as possible during the day. So what you're carrying, basically trying to keep it to the essentials, but keeping the luxuries for another trip, or for your big bag if you've got a Sherpa trip, okay? So I'm not going to go into detail about the gear you need to take, but you do need gear for all weathers. This is the mountains. So if you're not used to operating in a mountain environment, honestly, the weather can change just like that. So, you know, you need to have insulating layers. You need to have waterproof layers for your whole body. You need to have layers for just your base layers if you know, if it's hot and sunny, enough to keep yourself protected, obviously, but something for all weathers. You know, hats for the sun, hats for the cold, you know, socks, all of the different packing stuff. But one thing I particularly highlighted I wanted to talk about is trekking poles. So some people use trekking poles already, some people don't, depending on the type of walking that you do. But trekking poles is basically something that nearly everybody uses sort of in the Alps. They're great for sort of supporting you. Admittedly, people can become over-reliant on them, putting too much weight on them, and then of course that can cause damage to the poles, it can cause damage to them. So it's building up your confidence, learning how to use your trekking poles properly, and again, that's a video I'm hoping to make, so make sure you subscribe, because all of this is coming out in the next or the following few weeks after I've released this video. So we'll look at trekking poles, how to use those properly in different environments, get that height right, get the strap against your wrist right, make sure you're protecting your body, your joints, and also just maximizing the use of those trekking poles. So trekking poles, getting familiar with use, I've lost count of whatever I'm on here, I'm just doing fingers here. So getting used to using trekking poles, okay? So getting that weight down with your packing, be really quite rigorous with that, but make sure you've got your essentials. So make a list of those essentials, make sure they're in your pack, and then what else do you really need, okay? And then trekking poles, getting familiar with your trekking poles. So great, so we are training, we're training with our pack, which we've already packed, we know what we want to take, that's great. Okay, so the next thing then is cash, getting some cash out. So in Europe, they use predominantly euros. So in France and Italy, where you'll be walking first, if you do your traditional route from Les Houches, and you're going anti-clockwise, yes, anti-clockwise, then you're going to need some euros, okay? How much you need depends on the type of trip you're doing. Again, so if you're camping, you know, especially if you're wild camping, which is quite difficult along much of the trail, but that's a conversation for another day, you know, you're going to be spending a lot less than if you're staying in the best rooms in the refuges. Many refuges, just to reinforce, are not hotels, they are dormitories, but some of them, like they've got some new renovated areas, which is like a 2-bedroom room and a 4-bedroom room, or 4-bedroom. So it's kind of a little bit more luxury. So obviously just getting cash out. Now you can get cash out in Chamonix, of course you can do it at the airports as well, train stations. You can do it in Boya, that's where I also got some cash out. I think there's other points as well, Champagne probably, but just sort of, you know, getting some cash out and making sure you've got enough to cover your trip, because the key point of this is not everywhere will allow you to take cards. A lot of places, you know, it requires Wi-Fi and signal, and that's just not a thing. So having enough cash, even if it's too much and you have to change it back on your way home, then that's that. But also if you're in Switzerland, it's definitely better to use the Swiss franc, so getting some of those out as well. So yeah, get some cash out. So reflection, so we've got training, we've got packing, we've got cash. Next thing we have got is getting a guidebook. So getting your guidebook in advance of your trip is really, really helpful. So I personally, I work with Trailblazer, so I use their book. I think they're absolutely fantastic, although I did pick up on a few mistakes on their revised edition actually as well, so I'm going to let them know about that. And I did also buy secondhand the Cicerone guidebook, which some people call the Tour Do Mont Blanc Bible, so that's got the route both ways. So I had both of those to refer to. I did not carry both of those, but during my planning, when I was really trying to understand, I could not get my head around all of the information that was online and in the books, so they just sort of helped me ground myself a little bit, because they're a hard copy, don't need to be staring at a screen looking at people's blogs with opinion. It's just the hard facts. This is where a refuge is, this is the accommodation, this is the different amenities on the route. So that was really helpful for me as well. So there's the Trailblazer guidebook, which I saw a few people using, and the Cicerone guidebook. They're the two main ones that people use. So getting those in advance of your trip, that should really help you plan your different stages, the distances, the times that you'll be walking each day. Now my last tip before you actually head onto the trail is to have a think about your language skills. How is your French and Italian? Predominantly along the trail, most people do speak English, but it is so wonderful to actually be able to immerse yourself in the culture and to practice some French and Italian. So rather than straight away diving into your parler anglais or parlez-vous anglais, so do you speak English and Italian and French there, trying to learn some basic things, even if it is just like how much is that, or how are you, or just hello, goodbye, good afternoon, good morning. All of those things can just be really nice. Of course, the people you walk past on the trail, if you're already a hiker, you know that it's a big community. We always say hi to each other, so being able to say bonjour or buongiorno or ciao or whatever it is nice straight away. So have a practice with your language skills, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. But you can get apps on your phone, so I wouldn't recommend carrying a big guidebook unless you really want to. Not guidebook, sorry, phrase book. But you can also get them on your phone, so they're quite helpful because they've often got pronunciation. So just practicing that, you know, refreshing that when you're on the plane or the train over, just getting some of those foundational language skills in place can actually really transform your trip. They sort of immerse you a whole load more into the landscape. So we're set to go. That's it. We're boarding our form of transport to get to the start, Les Houches or Chamonix, wherever we're starting, and we're on our trip now. It's an official thing. So I want to come back to languages. So as we're walking, this is my next tip, as you're walking, to actually socialize. So essentially building on that is to talk to people, to practice those skills, to learn different things, to talk to people, even if you do have to break it down into English at some point. But there are people from all over the world on this trail. I mean, I made friends from Switzerland, from Australia, from obviously France and Italy, from a lady from Canada, all sorts of, oh, and I mentioned, you know, over in Asia, Hong Kong, a lady was from, and it's so funny because we were talking about the Lake District for ages, which is brilliant. People are from all over the world, so being able to have a conversation with people, even if you're quite introverted like me, like I do not like walking with people very much. I just enjoy my own space. It was really nice when I came into a sort of settlement or a refuge to have a conversation, to be like, right, I'm going to commit to talking to people and not just be alone. That was really wonderful. So do make the effort to socialize, because you meet some amazing people on the trail. My next tip when you're on the trail is to start early. So for me personally, I was on the trail just after 6 o'clock every day, and that's not unusual for me when I'm hiking. I love to be out early. The cool air in the morning is so refreshing. What you will find, depending on the time of year that you're walking, so the main hiking season in the Alps is sort of late June right through to early to mid-September. There's obviously a bit of variation there depending on what the climate's doing. But sort of late June, you can still have a lot of snow about, and it can start to come in from September time, give or take, you know, a couple of weeks there. So the main hiking season is sort of July and August. So I hiked mid-July. So peak season, really. But to start early means that A, you can sort of avoid the bigger groups, unless you're walking in a group, of course. But it also means you can just really make the most of that cool air. So during the day, it probably will get hot. The hottest I experienced there was, I think, about 38 degrees. But of course, you are higher up, and the higher you go, the cooler it's going to be. I don't think I was ever once cold, but you know, that could have changed should the weather have come in when I was in the mountains. So just basically starting early if you're looking to sort of see wildlife, if you're looking to get some sort of seclusion space on the trail from all of the people, and if you want to just get some cool air. So starting early can be a really great thing to sort of commit to. Do bear in mind though, whilst here, you know, in the UK, summer, it can start to get light sort of 4:30. You are in the mountains, so you do need to wait for the sun to come up over the peaks of the mountains before it starts to get as light as everywhere else. The valleys stay darkest for the longest, and they get darkest the quickest in the evening. So the higher up you are, where you're camping or in a refuge, then the sooner you're going to get some light. But of course, it's light before the sun bursts through, but when the sun bursts through, that is just the most magical moment every single day. So starting early. So up next is, I think I'm on tip 3 for when you're actually on the trail, is to consider your route variations. So we're coming back to the guidebooks now. So I've just thought of something else as well. I'm just going to diverge a little bit here. So when you're in Chamonix, you can actually buy a Tour Do Mont Blanc map. So I bought one in Chamonix from the guide office. There's lots of different variations, but this one was great because it showed me the whole route, and you know, it was nice to use alongside my guidebooks actually. And I mean, most people had this map, to be honest. I couldn't find it here in the UK, but I could buy it in Chamonix, and I didn't feel like I needed it until I was in Chamonix, so that was fine. So get that map. So we're coming back, so we got that map and we've got our guidebooks. We can see the route variations. We can see which is the main Tour de Mont Blanc route, and we can see which is the additional routes that the variants that you could take if you want to. Some of them go higher, some of them go lower. So just educating yourself on those variants, and sort of, you know, depending on the weather, that's going to dictate which you can choose. But if you've got a nice clear window and you've got an option, I just want to encourage you not to stress out about which option to take. If you're feeling tired, but you know, I say, oh, I really want to go up high, but I'm not feeling well, but I want to go up high, then don't worry, because I actually missed several of the higher turnings I wanted to take just because I missed the path. I was too busy filming, which was frustrating at the time, but I was quite quick to relax because, I mean, I look around myself and it's like, oh my goodness, it doesn't matter which route I take. This landscape is incredible. It surpasses any expectations you can possibly have. 360 peaks, snow, glaciers, valleys, everything around you. It's unbelievable. So don't stress out about which route to take. If you want to go a little bit more challenging, then take that route, providing the weather will allow you. But just be calm and enjoy it. Don't rush. You know, just you're going to be fine. Whichever variant route you take, you're going to be absolutely fine. So we've talked about how the weather can affect your choice of route variation. So I just want to talk about weather a little bit more. So we've mentioned that weather can change dramatically in the mountains. It's not always click of a finger. You can often see a storm coming in. On my final day, my 7th day of walking, I really had to rush down from Les Houches into Les Houches because there was this huge thunder and lightning storm coming over. I could sense it, then I could see it, and I could feel it all around me. The thunder was crashing out and the lightning was flashing, and it was really quite dramatic, and I was like, I need to get down. So that was fun. But you know, you can see a storm coming, so educating yourself on mountain weather, even if, again, just watching a few YouTube videos so you know what, you know, a cumulonimbus cloud looks like, and you know what to do if you do get caught in a storm. But basically talking to other walkers, talking to the people at the refuge, they often have got a sheet of paper with the weather forecast on there, and talking to local people. Just staying clued up about the weather is really, really important. It doesn't really matter because you've got your gear, but just staying safe is the priority, okay? So weather, make sure you're educating yourself, make sure you know each day roughly what the weather's going to do, and that way you can keep yourself safe and also others safe. If you see others making a decision whether perhaps they're going to go up high and you know that there's a storm coming in a couple of hours, then you can be like, guys, just to let you know, and then they can make a decision, even if they already know their situation. But just, you know, the trail is a place of community, so educating yourself in the weather for your benefit and for others. So up next then, I have got self-care. So this is a big subject. So there's a few things I want to talk about. I want to talk about hydration, I want to talk about nutrition, I want to talk about foot care, and I want to talk about skin care. Okay, so we're going to start with hydration. Hydration along the trail is amazing. I've never been anywhere where there's so many water fountains, natural springs. These little villages and settlements, they're pretty much everywhere, have got these sort of troughs that perhaps traditionally you might think are used for cows, and then they have a stick thing that comes out of them and water's just continually pouring out. Often it will say potable on it, so you know it's drinkable. If it doesn't, then it's up to you if you want to take that risk. But staying hydrated each day is super, super important. So make a note of roughly how much you drink day to day when you just, you know, you're at work or moving. I mean, there's some stupid percentage of, you know, citizens who are actually dehydrated anyway. I think it's like 46% or something, don't quote me on that, of us are actually dehydrated anyway. But you want to be basically drinking like 2 or 3 litres more than you would normally, because, you know, you're going to be sweating things out because you're on the trail and it's hot, you're working hard basically. So staying hydrated is super important. So you can do that through the water fountain. You can also do this through mountain streams. Now, people have very different opinions with this. I did bring a water filter, so I brought a Sawyer micro squeeze, and I used this particularly in glacial rivers when I was a bit lower down. There is a risk of certain diseases, not a huge risk, but possible, especially if you're downstream from refuges or you know, cattle, or where there might be opportunity for stuff to get into the rivers. But also glacial streams are very silty, so being able to just filter out the silt and make sure you can still have a drink is really great. So carrying a filter or some purification tablets, even if you don't use them, it's minimal weight added to your pack. It can be really, really helpful, and just to be on the safe side, you know, if you want to drink from something that looks a little bit dodgy. But then again, if you're higher up and you can see that the water's coming down from this patch of snow, like I did drink loads and loads of water without filtering it. So that's just personal preference, but just staying hydrated, absolutely key, and that's going to keep your body and your mind functioning nice and sharply. So next up is nutrition. So I want to stick with water a little bit, but nutritional hydration, if that's the thing. So electrolytes, replacing your electrolytes that you sweat out every single day. So there's 2 things I like to use. I usually use these high 5 tablets, which you pop in, say, a litre, and it fizzes away. And yes, it's full of sweeteners and stuff, but it's replacing your, you know, your magnesium, your sodium, potassium, all of that stuff that you're sweating out. So that keeps your body working well. They taste quite good as well. It's a good incentive to drink something. But this year I also experimented with some electrolyte drops. So you literally just get the right amount in a cap and put it in. It doesn't taste of anything, but it just means that you're getting you know, those electrolytes back in. So replacing those when you're on the trail is super, super important. And then nutrition, it's just kind of your day-to-day nutrition, really. Make sure you're trying to get, you know, whatever fiber you can in, getting your carbohydrates and your fats and your proteins to fuel your body. So just think about eating well. You know, it can be a great opportunity to indulge in calories because you're on the trail and you're burning off 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 calories a day. But just do be mindful of trying to eat well, eat in a way that's responsible for your body. And hopefully that'll just keep it ticking over. Make sure you're eating enough as well. I think a lot of people don't eat enough when they're on the trail because they're like, I don't get hungry when I'm walking, but that'll be why you're getting tired. So just make sure, yeah, you're eating well and you're eating enough when you're on the trail. So next up is foot care. So I'm not going to go into detail about this because, you know, if you're interested in foot care, you can check out my foot care video, which hopefully will be coming up there now. So I sort of detail the different things you can do to look after your feet. But looking after your feet are carrying you on the trail, so make sure you look after your feet. And then my final tip for self-care is skin care. So yes, essentially from the sun or from the snow if you're walking early in the season. So you're higher up, you're more exposed to the sun's UV rays. So making sure you've got sunglasses to protect your eyes, hopefully with some kind of UV filter in there, but also sun cream. do not be shy with the sun cream. Protect your skin from the present and the future issues that might involve, okay? So just get sun cream on, make sure it's a high factor, make sure it's one that your skin reacts okay to. I have sensitive skin, so I have to get special sun cream. So do what works for you, but just make sure you're protecting your skin. And again, that's just gonna help your body work well when you're on the trail. So that's self-care. Next up, we've talked about food. Let's come right back to that because it's a great subject. Make sure you're just have a bit of fun with the food. You know, try some local food. There's, you know, cheese is a real big thing on the trail, and the issue for me is I'm not a cheese fan. So where was it? I think it was Cormeyer. I really just needed like a supermarket. I was like, I just need some supplies, but everywhere was like cheese, 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 cheese crackers, cheese bread, cheese rolls, cheese. I'm like, cheese. If you love cheese, you're gonna be great on this trail. But just making sure, you know, you're immersing yourself in the culture of the different countries that you're going through. Try the different stuff that is available to try. Don't be shy, don't hold back, and have a little bit of fun with the nutrition there as well. I just want to bounce back a little bit. It's come into my head with the self-care. Sleep. If you're in dormitories, it can be quite hard to get a decent night's sleep if somebody's a heavy sleeper, heavy breather. So bring in some earphones, or earplugs, sorry. I do use earphones, but whatever it is, block that sound. Cover your eyes as well if you're going to be trying to sleep early. You want to minimize the light exposure, get that melatonin up. But just trying to prioritize your sleep on the trail as well. That should hopefully really help. Right, jumping forward. So we've looked at self-care and we have looked at a local food. So next up, we're going to look at our responsibilities as hikers. So you've probably heard of leave no trace, and I just want to reinforce that. So along the trail, it can be quite demoralizing to see crisp packets or cereal bar wrappers or loo roll. Loo roll is a big thing on the trail. So just make sure you've got some Ziploc bags so you can take away your rubbish and hopefully just tread through the landscape, leaving only footprints and taking only pictures. So leave no trace, make sure nobody knows that you were there. Well, hopefully people know that you walked through, but you know what I mean. Don't leave rubbish, basically. Be responsible, and hopefully we can protect this landscape for generations to come. And my final tip to summarize this massive information, you might be feeling quite overwhelmed now, and that's totally okay. It's basically just to enjoy the process, enjoy the planning, enjoy the experience, and enjoy sharing that experience with people afterwards. Make the most of every single second, from the initiation of that idea to the completion of your challenge. Enjoy it, soak it up, share it with people around you. Make sure you get decent pictures. Maybe write a journal, a diary as you go, because this is such a wonderful thing that you're doing. You're going to be part of a great community, and I just wish you all the best with your travels. So guys, any other questions, leave them in the comments below. It's actually just started raining. How's that for timing? Obviously, I'll try and help you out as best as I can. If you've got any personal questions or feedback, then please do pop that to me on a Facebook Messenger page thing. So on my Song Fresh Production Spend More Time in the Wild Facebook page, that's the best way to get hold of me, through Messenger on there. But that's it for me, guys. So thank you very much for watching. I'm gonna go and shelter now from the looks of it, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Stay wild. That's how we always finish it. See you later.